And now, Mr. Willy's Pod of Mayhem on the Breaking Fate Radio Network.
Estamos estampillas. Close to the for you. In fact, coming up next up. Come on.
Welcome to the Pod of Mayhem. I am Willy Atkins. Thank you for listening to episode 4 featuring Filmmaker, Dragon Alexander. If you enjoy this episode of the Pod of Mayhem, I invite you to follow us on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcast. Just this week, we finally got on iHeartRadio, so look us up on iHeartRadio. Before we get started, I want to invite you to find us on Twitter at Pod of Mayhem. Also stay in the loop on upcoming shows, guests, and information on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Pod of Mayhem. I will be right back with my very good friend and very talented filmmaker, Dragon Alexander.
This is paranormal historian and author Ursula Bielski, and if you love ghosts and hauntings as much as I do, then you should join me and several other knowledgeable guests at the 2020 Afterlife Paranormal Conference on Sunday, October 4th at the Red Roof Inn Convention Center in DeKalb, Illinois. This is going to be a wonderful event featuring presentations about haunted history and evidence of the paranormal. If you have a ghost hunting team or even artwork that fits the theme, the conference also has vendor space available. Be sure to check out www.afterlifeparanormal.com for tickets and details. I look forward to seeing you there. Unless you're scared.
Are you enjoying the Pod of Mayhem and you want to start a podcast yourself? Well, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. First and foremost, it's free. I mean, you can't be free, right? In addition to that, there's also creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more platforms. You can even make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a podcast, all in one place. So, if you'd like to check it out, download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Without further ado, my good friend Dragon. Hello, my friend.
Thank you, Willy. Thank you for having me on here.
You are a filmmaker, so why don't you give us a little glimpse into where you got started in filmmaking? What got you initially interested in films, and at what point did you decide movies is what I'm going to do?
Ooh, if I'm not gonna go to that. If we're gonna go to that story, I gotta start with my grammar school interests.
Let's do that.
All right. Well, when I was in grammar school, I wanted to be a cartoonist and voiceover artist.
So where did you go to school? Where are you from, so people know?
Oh, in Chicago. Born, lived here, in the city limits of Chicago, or just the near suburbs just outside of it.
Ooh, listen to that. Nice echo. All right. Tell us about grammar school.
Well, in grammar school, I wanted to, as I said, be a cartoonist and voiceover artist, so I learned as much as I could about both of those, and I had someone who knew a little bit about the business saying, all right, if you want to do voiceover work, you have to watch newscasters. Listen to the way how they talk, how they don't have a lot of accents from wherever region they're from. Even if they're from the South, they're going to speak very clearly. And I began studying how people speak, and that is my speech patterns to this day. I often get commented on, like, wow, you speak strange. Are you, like, from England or something? It's like, no, I just speak properly.
You speak dragon. I've told people that before.
I speak dragon?
You speak dragon, yes. What is that accent? Oh, that's the dragon accent. Yeah, that's what that is.
Well, I learned as much as I could art-wise. Signed up for every art course that I possibly could. Just drew obsessively. And also in watching cartoons and watching how different cartoonists did their things, I would watch like the Bugs Bunny and Tom Jerry cartoons.
Is this where the initial inspiration came? I mean, what type of cartoons or animation type stuff was what drew you in and said, "Oh my gosh, I have to do this"?
Pretty much all styles. I was very much drawn into, as I said, like the classic Looney Tunes, Tom and Jerry type cartoons, the ones that didn't necessarily have to have speaking to tell the story. That's why I really like Tom and Jerry. Everything they did was through physical action and through their emotions.
Yeah, it's like the old silent films and the vaudeville stuff. I mean, if they only did comedy like that these days, you know?
I wish that could be resurrected as well. The very sharp reactions.
Right. So what took you from cartoons to film? I mean, what progressed beyond the grammar school then?
Well, as I was watching these cartoons, they would use a lot of classical music in them.
Yeah.
And I began to get an interest in classical music even when I was like in late grammar school, early high school. So like I would be listening to classical music while everyone else was listening to pop music. And then I ran into a friend who played guitar very well. He started giving me guitar lessons. And I had tried learning a little bit of trumpet and a little bit of piano before, but my heart just wasn't into it. But learning guitar, that got me into it. So I went back to the trumpet, pulled that out of storage, got the piano back out, switched around everything that I learned on guitar into every other instrument I can get my hands on. I've got a musical corner of my apartment that has all of my instruments in it right now that every once in a while when I get bored, I'll just grab one and start playing a little bit.
I don't think I've ever heard you play an instrument ever in all these years.
We will have to fix that then.
We will definitely have to fix that.
Well, through high school, I learned every musical instrument I could. As I said, I would take classical pieces of music and arrange them for a 4-piece metal band. If I can find the tape, I'll bring it in the future, but I've got this really killer symphony in G minor arranged for a 4-piece metal band. I'm playing all the instruments, the drums, bass, lead guitar, and rhythm guitar.
Wow. Yeah, that would be something to hear.
But I started getting more involved with like musical scores, and I wanted to make music for movies. So I began to study a little bit more up on movies. And then when I went to college, it was like, okay, I got 2 interests. Psychology is my academic one, and I really want to get more involved in film and theater. So instead of going the film route, because I already know a number of friends from Columbia who already have a lot of film knowledge, I was like, I'm going to go the artistic route. So I went for theater, specializing in directing and stage management, which is essentially production management for film.
And that was here at NIU.
That is correct. Northern Illinois University, just 2 miles away from where we are recording this now.
Amazing. Comes full circle, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, I went specifically for those 2 areas, and I went to apply it to film. Like I said, I already knew more than enough people that knew the technical aspects. I just took all of the knowledge that I learned from drawing, because if you're making a film, pretty much you're just making a picture or a portrait. It's just you're getting it moving, so you just got to worry about transitions and how the action is going to be taking place. But the basic concepts that are taught with any type of art class, that's applied directly to filmmaking. And I already knew a lot about musical instruments, so I knew about scoring and different types of music to use at different times to help convey the emotion that you want to. And just having the theater background and learning everything I could from everyone else's job, since as a director and as a production manager, you have to know a little bit of everyone's job. You have to be able to communicate with the language that they know. So if you want something done lighting-wise, like here, this is what I would like done, but you're the specialist, please make it so. Or you're the set design person, this is what I would like done, but this is your specialty, make it so.
I need to have you score a film once. I don't think that's ever happened, but now knowing that you have this much involvement with music, I mean, I think it's something that needs to happen here soon. As if I needed to give you another job to do, right?
Hey, I am the Swiss Army knife of the independent film scene.
I've heard that before.
Actually, I'm kind of proud of the names you've given me. The guy who puts out fires.
Yeah. We might as well just call you the fire extinguisher. You went through the theater program at NIU, and when did you graduate?
Actually, I have 1 class left to graduate.
Oh, wow. We're still lingering here.
Well, I have 1 class that I was going to finish up in the last semester, but unfortunately some personal issues came up where I was just not able to finish up that last semester. I have 3 classes left for my psych degree and 1 class left for my theater degree. So that one last semester prevented me from getting the 2 magical pieces of paper to get both my double majors completed.
I think you stayed pretty busy considering.
Oh, yes.
When did you finally get to the point you were ready to make a film, and what was that very first film for you?
Well, right out of college, I was given an opportunity to work on a pilot episode and a second episode for a television series that I had been building a script for. I tried to assemble a team, but in all honesty, my lack of experience and knowledge of actual application of film prevented it from getting it accomplished. I ended up trying to get a hold of a number of people that were not able to get the tasks done. And just in general, it failed because I was just unprepared for taking on so big of a project.
That's an everlasting chaos. I mean, just finding the right people, building the film family, as they call it in quotes here. To me, that task alone is what makes or breaks almost every film, and making those decisions on who to include. I mean, that's everything.
Well, my first very powerful lesson of what not to do in the future.
I've had many of those.
So after that, I worked on a number of smaller projects so I could be on some film sets. I did some special effects makeup. I did some fight choreography from time to time, since I know a lot about martial arts, and I've always been fascinated with movement and how the body functions. So that kept me busy for a number of years. And in 2011, I decided, all right, I think I've gained enough knowledge now where I could probably do a short and do it well enough that it would be received well.
All right, I'm going to make you sidetrack because, you know, I've always admired the way you take a story and jump into another story and then go back to the original story. I'm going to steer the car for you off here to the side. And I want you to talk a little bit about the martial arts background that you have and what got you involved in that, and when did you start doing that? I've heard bits and pieces, but put it all together for me. When did that happen?
Okay. When I was young, Channel 32 was around. It wasn't the U and the Fox that divided it up. They used to have, every Sunday, Son of Svengoolie showing his monster movies, and immediately after that, Samurai Sunday. So every Sunday, I would be glued to the TV for 4 hours watching a really bad but good monster movie and a poorly translated kung fu movie. So that is probably where my love of monsters and monster makeup came from, and my love of martial arts came from. I wanted to get involved in martial arts at a very young age, but fortunately my family was against it. So a number of my friends that were taking martial arts, like, hey, teach me what you learned in your class. And so I'd learned really haphazardly and not very effectively at all. But on my 18th birthday, I went to a Shin Ryu karate school that was closest to my house. And I was like, I'm signing up now. So my 18th birthday is when I actually started learning my first official style of karate.
Wow. And how long did you stick with that school?
Actually, I only stuck with that school for about a year or so. It was a school that was very commercial and taught very basic moves, and it was just pretty much repeating the moves. And in all honesty, after the year was done and I was about to receive my black belt, I was like, no thank you, I didn't earn this.
Wow.
Right before the black belt test, my instructors are very upset because I already was able to do everything that a black belt needed to. I just needed to go through the standing in front of 5 people just so they can judge and say, yeah, here's your belt.
Not about the belt for you, huh?
It was always about the physical conditioning and the training. But after that, I just started working with a number of my other friends that had different styles of martial arts. I had one guy that was a Muay Thai guy, one person who was a 3rd-degree black belt in Taekwondo, someone who was very specialist in Aikido. So I just took what I could learn from every art and squished it into my own style.
So let's jump back ahead to 2011. You're getting ready to do your own film again. We're going to attempt this again. What film was this, and how did that go?
This film was tentatively called The Blackwood Project because I officially started my production company, Blackwood X Productions, LLC.
We'll get into that here shortly. Carry on.
And we didn't have a real title for it, so we just always called it The Blackwood Project. And later on, it's like, hey, I got a name for it. We're going to call it Betrayal. But we've always been calling it the Blackwood Project. All right, fine. We'll call it Betrayal, : The Blackwood Project.
And how did that compare to the first? I mean, obviously that one got done.
Oh, well, yes, it got done. That was the first most important thing. The other one really didn't get past development. It got to very close to pre-production, but my ducks were just not in a row in order to tell the people who were giving me the money that it could be done. I could not 100% confidently say that if you give me money, this will get done. I couldn't give that confirmation. I wasn't going to have people throw money my way to make a substandard product or a product that wouldn't be able to be finished.
Tell us about that project. What is Betrayal about?
Well, to give a little bit of background information, I have played a improv theater game for well over 20 years. It's a game where you get dressed up as a supernatural creature of some sort, and the way how the mythology of the game works is supernatural creatures have been around as long as humans have been, but they've been posing as traders, aristocrats, and modern day they're businessmen and they're politicians. They're supernatural creatures that hold a lot of power behind the scenes, but they've always been pretending to be people so they can keep themselves protected. One of the characters that I made for this game was named Blackwood.
And you were Blackwood.
Yes, my character is Blackwood. And there are some people that even to this day call me Blackwood. It's a huge international organization that have games all over the world. If you want to go to England, you can say, hey, can I take my character from Chicago and let the people who are running the game in Cambridge know that I'm coming and play in there for a little while? So they all follow the same general rules. So you can take a character from one city and to another major city in some other part of the world and continue playing the game. Because anything that happens in one game is going to affect the other games throughout the entire international organization.
It's like an alternative reality, basically.
Pretty much. It's like a dinner theater where you have to guess who the murderer is. The only thing is that it continues on past that one night.
So what made you name the character Blackwood?
I came across a very interesting story about Scotsmen. There was a clan called the Calhouns, and they were at war with another clan. And it was a war that was like a complete stalemate. No one was gaining either footing on either side. So one of the Blackwoods, a young one that was not an experienced warrior, knew how to handle things honorably, said, if we just want to finish them off, let's just throw a big party, get them drunk, and kill them when they're drunk. Then that'll be the end of it. A lot of the elders of the Calhoun clan were like, we can't do that. That's completely dishonorable, and there's no way we would do that. A couple of the Calhouns thought it was a good idea, so they followed through with it. They invited the neighboring clan leaders over for a party and a peace treaty. They all got drunk, and they killed them all in their sleep. When the rest of the Calhoun family found this out, or Calhoun clan found this out, they were livid. They were like, remove our colors from your kilt, get out of here. You're no longer Calhouns. Get out. So they went to go live in a different section of Scotland that were called the Black Woods. And they changed their name officially from the Black Calhouns, as they were called, to the Black Woods. And that is the history of where the name Blackwood comes from. It's from Scottish descent, from these Calhoun members that took out a clan by unsavory means.
See, I knew I've known you for a while. I knew I'd learned something new. I knew that the Blackwood X Productions name came from this game and this character, but I didn't know where the character got its name. So I guess you learned something new. For now, we're going to take a quick break. I look forward to talking to you here a little bit more about what came of the Blackwood project and what came after, for that matter. Sit tight. We'll be right back.
This is paranormal historian and author Ursula Bielski, and if you love ghosts and hauntings as much as I do, then you should join me and several other knowledgeable guests at the 2020 Afterlife Paranormal Conference on Sunday, October 4th at the Red Roof Inn Convention Center in DeKalb, Illinois. This is going to be a wonderful event featuring presentations about haunted history and evidence of the paranormal. If you have a ghost hunting team or even artwork that fits the theme, the conference also has vendor space available. Be sure to check out www.afterlifeparanormal.com for tickets and details. I look forward to seeing you there. Unless you're scared.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, another body has been found in what the authorities have dubbed the vampire killings. The police urge all citizens to exercise extreme caution until this individual...
Welcome back to the Pod of Mayhem. I am Mr. Willy Atkins. That was Betrayal the Blackwood Project. That was Dragon's film he was just talking about, at least the instrumental version. If you would like to check out that video, it is on YouTube. Just simply search Betrayal the Blackwood X Project, and it is the first one that shows just the Blackwood Project.
There's no X in that.
Right.
Blackwood X is the production company.
Oh, very good. Betrayal, the Blackwood Project. And it is the first one that shows up when you do search for it. So be sure to check that out. And the visuals are pretty damn amazing. If you enjoy the music, I'm sure you're going to enjoy the video. So be sure to go check that out. There's also a number of other films on his channel for you to check out. So head on over there. Tell me about the music here, because it is awesome.
Well, we actually knew the beats per minute and what at least the music was going to be like before we even started filming. There was a friend of mine who put together a CD. This is a friend of mine who played the vampire game, the one where you're playing supernatural creatures behind the scenes in Immortal Society. And what he would do is he would put together these CDs for friends of his, like, here, these are songs I think of when I think of your character. And people would like listen to them before they would start playing their character, and they would get into mood. And one of the pieces that he put on the CD he gave me for Blackwood was Hello Zepp. It is the theme from the original Saw movie and makes appearances in subsequent Saw movies. My character is very sneaky, very manipulative, will push people in directions where he wants them to go without really directly being in the line of fire in order to get a number of things done. He's a manipulative bastard.
Excellent. I like him already.
So when he was thinking of the Saw movie, he's like, wow, your character is kind of like this guy in Saw, where he gives people options to make choices, but he ultimately knows what they're going to do and make them fall into place. So I would listen to Hello Zepp before I was playing the character, and I was like, if I was making a movie out of this is what would be happening in this point of the song, and this is what would be happening at this point of the song, and when the music changes here, this is what will be happening here. So I wrote the movie in my head without dialogue, just following the beats per minute and knowing what was going to happen with each part of the song. Now, if you go to the YouTube site, watch this movie, and you cue up the song Hello Zepp from Saw movie, at the point where the character slams his fist down on the table, when the drum starts in Hello Zepp, if you could sync that up, that will match 100% perfectly with what is going on with the screen for our movie.
That is amazing.
Well, obviously, we couldn't use Hello Zepp since it's copyrighted musical material from someone else, so we rewrote music that's the exact beats per minute to the exact timing. We've even had a metronome on set, and it's like, okay, this is what's going to happen. You're going to slam your fist down at this point. You're going to stand up on the 3 count. You're going to close the doors on the 4 count. You're going to close your eyes and say the word Blackwood at this point. So literally everything was timed, including all of the editing cuts, before it was filmed. So we knew exactly dead on timing.
It's cool. It's like the Wizard of Oz, and was it Dark Side of the Moon or whatever, and all these different things that kind of make film even more interesting, more secretive, kind of like Blackwood X for that matter. I think is excellent, and I've never done that, and I know we've had this conversation about that like several times, and I really should do that sometime just to experience it that way, because I think it would be excellent.
It does give you an interesting perspective on editing, because you technically get a good chunk of the editing done before you even have anything in front of you on the computer. And luckily, Sean Chaya, my director of photography and the person who did all of the post-production for Betrayal of Blackwood Project, all the editing, all of the color correction, the rotoscoping necessary to get like certain emblematic items of color on the characters. He's a musician as well. So both of us went in knowing exactly timing-wise, with the musical knowledge and the film knowledge of how we wanted it to look. That's why the editing and sound is so tight on this.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. You guys did the music together?
Well, I wrote a song called Introspection in 1993. So I wrote the melody. I knew what it was going to sound like. I gave him the chord progressions, and I gave him the arpeggiated chords. I was like, this is what I want to play behind this. So since he has more experience with producing industrial-style music, and I did want this to be a combination of old and new. Like, it's an homage to noir and classic horror-style movies, but it's also new with the modern special effects and the modern industrial music. I want it to have a little bit of an older feeling because the characters are vampires. They're old and ancient, but they're still living in modern day and have to deal with modern stuff. So I thought it was a good balance of tying both the old and new together.
It remains my favorite film of yours to this very day. Absolutely love it.
Thank you very much.
Was this made specifically to go on YouTube then?
This was made just to get it made, to be perfectly honest. A lot of the people that worked on it were not very professional actors. There were people that jumped into the improv theater game, but didn't necessarily have any training. They just did it more for fun. So I recruited a lot of, I don't want to say unprofessional, but non-professional talent for this. Everyone that I had acting for it obviously did a great job. But this was just to get a movie done. As I said, when I got out of school, I did have that project where I had the potential to make a pilot episode and a second following episode to what may have been a TV series, and it was very disheartening just not being able to accomplish it. This is something I want to say, all right, I got something under my belt, it's solid, it's good. Now, whatever mistakes I have made making this one, I know what not to do for the next one.
Oh, yeah, and that never ends either.
I have learned that lesson very solidly here as well.
Keep having to refill that damn fire extinguisher, man.
The next movie that I worked on was called Lost Soul. That was done less than a year after Betrayal of Blackwood project was finished. The story came into my head upon waking up one morning, and literally the entire movie was done in my head within 3 or 4 minutes. I knew what was going to happen. I knew what the character interactions were going to be. And it literally only took like 3 minutes of me waking up, writing down notes, as many as I possibly could, because it was still fresh in my mind, because this was like a semi-dream story that I had.
I know what that's like. I have the most amazing thought, and I don't write it down, and then 30 minutes later, it's gone.
Yeah, well, this is the one I wrote down, and it turned out to be a pretty good movie.
So tell us what that one is about.
The tagline for the movie is, "What's worse than waking up in someplace unfamiliar all alone? Waking up someplace unfamiliar, not alone." And the basic storyline, there's only 2 actors. Once again, no dialogue. Everything is done through physical movement and through their interactions with each other.
Who are the shout-outs? Who was in this film?
The male lead was Michael Bonanno. The female lead was Clarice Bear. Hi, Michael. Hi, Clarice. But the basic summary of the story, without spoiling it, is a young man wakes up. He's inside of a house. He pats his pockets and looks around, just trying to figure out where he is, and he looks very confused. And he just starts exploring around the house, trying to figure out where he is and how he got there. And as he's looking through the house, he comes across a couple things that spark his interest. So when he reaches out to touch them, as soon as he comes in contact with them, he gets a splitting headache, and he gets a flashback to something that happened to him in the past. It's just really quick images where he just doesn't able to make sense of them. And after he's able to clear his head and get the flashback shaken out, well, as soon as he looks around a little bit, there is a ghostly figure. It was some distance away from him in the house. At first, he's a little bit curious, but then when the ghostly figure looks at him, opens his eyes, and the figure has black eyes and starts moving towards him, is like, all right, I need to get out of this. So the basis of the story is he's trapped in this house. He's got to find clues, and he's got to figure out where he is, how he got there, what's going on, what does this ghost want before the ghost is able to solidify and able to corner him. So yeah, he's running around the house, but hopefully before the ghost is able to catch him. And if you want to find out what happens, well, you got to watch.
You can see that one on YouTube also. Don't look for Lost Soul. You'll search that, and you'll find a million things. But you can simply find Dragon's YouTube channel, Blackwood X Production. And I'm seeing here the Blackwood Project Betrayal was, let's see, nominated for Best Sound, Best Special Effects, and won the award for Best Editing at the 2012 Chicago Horror Film Festival, which had been sometime right after we had met, I'm sure.
Oh, yes. That was the first festival I submitted my film to, and just maybe about a month or so before is when I first met up with you.
Lost Soul. Beyond that, what came next? What's our next film on the list? Maybe I should pull up your IMDb. We can go through a whole list of stuff here.
Well, the next film that I worked on was called I'm Still Alive. It was the pilot episode to what I hoped would turn into essentially a choose-your-own-adventure zombie-themed web series. Now, when I say choose your own adventure, what I was going to do in order to get funding for this movie was to have crowdsourcing campaigns put out there, but leave it up to the audience to decide how some major directions of the show was going to go. Like, for every $1 that was contributed, you get to vote for the show can go in this direction or this can go in this direction. The majority of votes get to decide where the direction goes. It sounded very good, but just really didn't get the following that I needed to continue past it.
It can be a challenge, as we know. We'll get into some challenges here, too, really soon. For now, we're going to take another quick break. Got to let some sponsors do their thing, you know what I mean? We'll be right back.
This is paranormal historian and author Ursula Bielski, and if you love ghosts and hauntings as much as I do, then you should join me and several other knowledgeable guests at the 2020 Afterlife Paranormal Conference on Sunday, October 4th at the Red Roof Inn Convention Center in DeKalb, Illinois. This is going to be a wonderful event featuring presentations about haunted history and evidence of the paranormal. If you have a ghost hunting team or even artwork that fits the theme, the conference also has vendor space available. Be sure to check out www.afterlifeparanormal.com for tickets and details. I look forward to seeing you there. Unless you're scared.
Hello, and welcome back to the Pod of Mayhem. I am Willy Atkins. I'm here with my good friend Dragon Alexander, and we were just talking about some of his film work. And instead of talking about the projects themselves, I'm going to kind of dig into some questions about filmmaking in general. And I'm curious about things like what project has been, I mean, film or otherwise even, what project has been the absolute most fun to work on? What set was just the most amazing to work on, and why? Why was it so entertaining for you?
Well, there was this one comedy that I was asked to take part in, and the director-producer held up the script in front of all the actors, and almost all the actors had some sort of comedy training, Second City or Improv Olympics. And when they held up the script in front of all of us, they said, all right, you're all skilled comedians. This is the script, but if you can think up something you think will work well, just go for it, and we'll see if it'll work when we get to editing.
I'm sure he said something like, this is to be considered a guideline, and make it your own.
I think that was how it was conveyed. And, of course, if you say that to a room of improv comedians, they all looked at each other and did like the Monty Burns finger twiddle going, excellent. So, of course, you know the film that I'm talking about is What in the Sam Hill.
Yep, I know that one well. Tell us about your character and What in the Sam Hill.
I'm a support character, so I'll have to explain a little bit about the main character first.
Sure.
The main character is a normal person just going through his day, except he's just being taken advantage of by everyone. His wife, the paper girl, his boss, coworkers, clients, and his best friend. And I was playing his best friend. I'm doing him wrong. I'll just leave it where it's. I'm doing him wrong, real wrong.
Doing his lady wrong, you mean?
Huh?
No, you're doing her right. Yeah.
Yeah.
There are donut boxers involved, right? So
yes.
We'll leave it at that. Check that one out. I think it's on Amazon Prime.
Oh, yeah, that was my most fun role because I technically got to be a bad guy. And being a bad guy in a movie is the most fun you could ever have because you get to terrorize through the movie until the very end when the good guy obviously has to beat you at whatever game is being played. But yeah, being someone who's just mean and evil is really fun.
You do it so well with a smile on your face. What in the Sam Hill, you can see that one on Amazon Prime. So if you have Prime, you can watch it for free. Check it out. So we talked about some of the acting and that. So let's get into the not so fun part of filmmaking. Let's talk about the biggest challenges that you faced when it comes to making a film. And I know that your first project did not go at all as you wanted it to, or didn't go at all for that matter, period. Tell us what you think some of the bigger challenges are when it comes to filmmaking.
Ooh, making sure everything is done way before it needed to be done. There have been so many film sets that I have worked on where filmmakers do not dedicate nearly as much time as needed in the development phase and pre-production phase. Like development phase, that is where you are figuring out, can we pull this off? This is before you're spending any money, officially hiring anyone. You're basically putting feelers out there saying, hey, I'm working on this. Would you be interested in it? Or, hey, you've got this cool location. I'd like to put it in a movie. Could I use it? We'll get into the specifics later on. But if I get enough of these things in line and we prove that we can get this done, then we'll enter pre-production. And that is where you're actually starting to spend the money. Renting the rehearsal space, buying costumes, hiring people with specific skills to get stuff done before production happens. It has always been my philosophy that when production, the actual filming of a movie takes place, that should be the fastest and easiest portion of filmmaking. You should have gotten everything done in development and pre-production, so everyone shows up, does their job, gets it done quickly, so you can get out of there. Unfortunately, that is the biggest hurdle that I have found, and even if you do plan for as much as possible and you prepare, you have just got to be wide open to things and pitfalls falling in your way, trees falling in the road. That's going to happen. You just got to be prepared for it. And if you've done your homework and you've done all the hard work in development and pre-production, production should go smoothly.
Yeah, somebody once told me that being a producer has two major jobs: preparing everything and then redoing everything. Because when it comes to hitting production on set, everything you did work so hard for in pre-production could be changed at the drop of a hat over the slightest, simplest little thing, from a character change or a prop not working out or FX makeup not working right. Just so many obstacles and fires to put out, which is why I have you on set. Because God knows I get in my head and I need somebody to sort the pieces out and be able to take me yelling at them and then come back and give me a hug later, because, you know, it's the way it works, right?
Yeah, now don't take it personal. Emotions are going to be high. You're putting a lot of your energy and a lot of emotion behind it. That's everyone that's involved in a project.
We've talked about some of the challenges. We talked about that fun character and fun set. Let's talk about the stories behind these characters, and what kind of stories do you like to tell? What qualifies as a successful, I couldn't have done any better than this film? Where's the payoff? I mean, at what point do you say, damn, this came out great?
When I first see a movie that I have made in a film festival, I sit in the very back row on the left side. It's not because I want to be far away from the screen. It's because I want to watch the people's reactions. I know what I put into the movie. I know different spots that I want people to react. I know things that the audience obviously doesn't know is going to happen. So I'm half watching the movie and half watching the audience. And if I know that there is a very specific moment in the movie where it's like a drastic character change or some type of major emotional shift, if I can see reactions out of the audience when that happens, that is what makes the entire movie for me. I know that I have got someone emotionally invested and have someone actually thinking about what's going on and replaying in their own head what's the reactions and the past that has led the character up to the decision that they're making now. Because movies aren't about everyday life. Movies are about some type of extreme situation that someone is placed in, and they have to make a decision of which way they're going to go. Sometimes people make decisions where they're successful. Some people make the decisions that are going to make them unsuccessful. But they are pivotal moments in a person's life. Lost Soul. I can give that as an example. I'm not going to spoil it, but if you watch Lost Soul, one of the proudest moments I've had is when the main character reaches into his pocket and pulls out an item. And it's about the halfway point of the movie, but still, that is when the audience gets the big reveal of what is going on, and they're able to piece a lot together of what happens with the movie. And I would say 3/4 of the time when I show the movie to a new person, I get a very strong reaction out of them, and I'm like, yes, I have done what I have set out to do.
Now, let's talk about genre. I mean, we're going to get into this a little bit more here shortly after our next break, but it's been a while since Blackwood X Productions has produced something, and you only have a handful out there, barely, not even a handful, right?
I have 3 completed projects with Blackwood X Productions.
What are your favorite genre to produce? I should say produce or direct.
Well, if I had the option, I would go for comedy first.
And why is that?
Comedy is very smart entertainment. It's very quick. It's very witty. It's very intelligent. It's something that you have to stay mentally engaged in order to understand the story and the fast-pacedness of it. Granted, there's slow comedy as well, but still, if you're going to catch all the jokes and everything that slipped out, and if you have someone who's a really good writer, they're going to slip something in where one character is going to say something completely normal and another character is just going to twist it in such a way that it's just so warped that it's just going to get a ridiculous reaction out of anyone who hears that interpretation that character has.
And you made it sound like there was another genre that you were interested in.
I would have to say, let's see, how do I even define this? Kind of like a mystery noir style.
Okay.
Like, obviously, the Blackwood Project, that was an homage to noir and classic horror.
Yep.
But something where it's a little bit dark, a little bit shadowy. You don't really know everything that's going on. It's a little bit mystery just to figure out where the characters are and what their motivations are. Like, even if you watch the end of the Blackwood movie, you'd think that the character that's the detective, I guess you could say, is kind of a good guy doing stuff. But you find out, no, he's just as bad and a monster as much as the rest of them. That's why I have a little bit of a little surprise at the very end of the movie that shows beyond a shadow of a doubt, yes, this man is a monster. He's not a good guy. He's just completely taking advantage of the situation.
Well, in the spirit of stories and ideas, I am going to steer the car again way off track here, and I'm just going to ask you some random questions, and you can explain your answer if you like. I'm just curious what your creative mind does with these. The first question is, what do you think of garden gnomes?
They're rather creepy. Sure, they look innocent. They look calm. They're decorative, but they got this like fake smile to them and like this look out of the corner of their eyes. It's like they're keeping an eye on you.
What is your favorite power tool and why?
A Dremel. You can shave stuff down to the exact measurements, sharpness, or smoothness that you want.
You've been given an elephant. You can't give it away or sell it. What would you do with said elephant?
Find out how to offer elephant rides at a nearby parking lot so I could profit off of it and keep the thing alive by feeding it. Because those things are freaking huge. They probably eat like massive amounts of food. That's the first thing I got to worry about if I can't get rid of it and I can't sell it. I want to keep this thing freaking alive. Got to make a little profit just to do that.
If you were a tree, what kind of tree would you be and why?
Willow. You have to be able to bend slightly to maintain your entire strength.
You walk out the front door of the radio studio today, and you look down and you find the $10 million winning lottery ticket. What do you do tomorrow?
Cash it in.
What is the color of money?
Gold.
If you had to be shipwrecked on a deserted island, but all your human needs, such as food and water, were taken care of, what two items would you want to have with you?
A bowl and a knife.
A bowl and a knife?
Knife is too useful. You could that can make any other tool that you would need in order to survive in the long run, and a bowl just to be able to hold food.
Are you a hunter or a gatherer?
Yes.
Or, okay, one last one here.
How about if I gather? No, I hunt things that gather.
I would gather hunters. What do you think about when you're alone in your car?
Out of all the questions, I spend a lot of time in my car, but I don't know what I think about. Gah!
That's my sleeping time.
Probably the electro swing music that I'm playing. I've been listening to a lot of that lately.
Yeah. You introduced me to some of that. It was pretty excellent stuff.
Ooh, electro swing is a blast.
Well, I look forward to knowing what is going to be coming up with Dragon Alexander and Blackwood X. We'll get into that more just in a bit. Get ready for the new Fetish Pod. I'm Willy.
And I'm Z. For those of you who enjoy the kinky side of life, you are going to love the Fetish Pod.
Each show will feature a telling of an erotic story or two.
And then we will dive deeply into all of the dirty details, discussing different fetishes each week.
So we wish to invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Simply search for the Fetish Pod.
Also, if you have an erotic story that you would like to share, please do email to thefetishpod@gmail.com, and we may feature your story on our show.
Our new podcast will be released every Wednesday beginning April 15th on all major podcasting platforms.
The Fetish Pod is for adult listeners 18 and over only. Our content can and will be very graphic with no apologies, so listener discretion is advised.
The Fetish Pod is a member of the Breaking Fate Radio Network. Welcome back to the Pod of Mayhem. I'm Willy Atkins. So far, so good. I hope you're enjoying the podcast so far. Facebook.com/Pod of Mayhem is where you can see other podcasts coming up. We should have event pages for every one of them each week. They should be available on most platforms on Thursday every single week. We hope to be doing a live show as well sometime earlier in the week on either Monday or Tuesday evenings. That's all to be determined, but we'll certainly keep you posted. Just visit us on Spotify or Apple Podcast and click the simple follow link, and you should be able to learn more as we get further into our season here, our first season. This will be episode number 4, I believe. Anyway, we are talking with my good friend Dragon Alexander, a guy who puts out fires on my set. I'm going to get him this firefighter outfit one of these days, I think. It'd be most appropriate. Talked about all sorts of things today. What we haven't talked about at all is the future and what's to come for both Blackwood X Productions and you yourself, Dragon Alexander. I know it's been a while since Blackwood X has produced anything, so I'm curious to see what might be planned for the future when it comes to Blackwood X Productions and anything else you're involved in outside of Blackwood X.
Well, for the future of Blackwood X Productions, I do have the scripts completed for 2 more stories following the same storyline as Betrayal of Blackwood Project. It's going to be same style of characters. Obviously not the same characters involved, and since a number of them can't be reoccurring, given the original storyline. But yeah, I have one written, and if everything falls into place as I would like it to, as of this summer, I could be filming it this summer. I have a number of locations scouted out. I have a number of actors that have been interested in it that say, just give me the word when it goes. Once again, just waiting for the right things to fall into place to make sure that it can be done effectively and as best as it can be done.
Excellent. I look forward to seeing that. It's been far too long since we've seen the Blackwood X Productions logo on a screen with something new to enjoy, so I really look forward to that. Other projects you're involved in right now?
Well, there is a movie called Daddy's Girl where I'm going to be the lead male, hopefully filmed this spring or summer. I get to be playing an overprotective father.
Anything for Blackwood X beyond the series? Have you had any lingering thoughts or storylines that have just kind of been swishing around or sitting on that back burner waiting for the right day?
Well, first, there's the 2 black and white vampire pieces. Those I want to try and knock out first because it has been quite a while since I have done something with Blackwood X. I want to make sure I got those on and make sure sea legs are solidly where they should be. But there is another feature-length movie that I think would be very easily executable that has been on a back burner for a number of years, and I've gotten a number of people interested in it. It is basically a story that revolves around a number of brothers and sisters in a Southside Irish family. At some point in their past, there was something that caused the family to split down the middle. So one half of the family doesn't talk to the other half.
That you hit the microphone just the right time. It's like split down the middle. It's like you could almost envision them blowing up and separating.
Yes. I'm pantomiming as I'm talking. That's unfortunately, well, either good or bad habit, depending on which you look at it. But with this story, the mother of all these brothers and sisters passes away, and the main character, the oldest sister, it is her job to get the family back together one last time to pay respects to their mother. Then they can go off and do their own thing, never talk to each other, never see each other again, cut each other off, and just have their own lives.
Never! You lie!
But it's a comedy. It's also got a little bit of drama to it because there's the mystery of what happened, say, 20-some-odd years ago that made the family split up like this. And all the characters, they've grown and they have kids that are like anywhere from like 4 to 18 years old. So the kids, when they start meeting the other members of their family, it's like, what? They're not bad people like you told me. What's going on? So there's a little bit of a mystery to it as well, because the kids are trying to go through all the neighborhood and all the old neighborhood that they all used to live in, and doing some mystery work and figuring out, hey, what happened 20 years ago that caused our family to blow up?
Well, I would love to see you direct a feature.
Well, there was one more big project I wanted to make sure I gave a shout out for.
Excellent.
I was recently asked by a Colin Parker of Space Cave Productions to be the production manager and help with a number of other aspects of a short movie that he's been working on called The Pleasure Matrix.
Oh, yes, The Pleasure Matrix. Tell us about that one.
Well, it's a short film about 3 friends who plan to rob a party, but end up falling victims to a cult that's the party is being held by. They each have their own, I guess you can say, demons that they're dealing with, and just running into a cult that's making promises to individuals that have some tainted parts of their past could end up being appealing in some ways.
I'm looking at IMDb, and I just got to giggle over this name. It's a film I produced called Routines. It's this comedy film, feature length, and it shows up under your actor's credits. I'm like, wait a minute, Dragon was in that movie? And then I got a real laugh when I saw the name Mort. I'm like, why the hell is the name Mort so fitting for you? I don't know, but it is quite fitting. Mort Wednesday.
You do remember the scene that I was in?
Yes, I do. I do now. It took me a second, but it's kind of a blur. Another great film that we got to work on together, on time and under budget. So hire us because we can do that for you. Anything else coming up?
Well, to finish off with the Pleasure Matrix, right now its Seed and Spark campaign is live. So if you go to seedandspark.com and look up the Pleasure Matrix, they are still looking for funding to making sure that this can be pulled off. It's a movie that I've seen the script. I've spoken to Colin with it and about it, and I like the vision and I like the direction that he's taking with it. So that's why I jumped in on it and helping him out wherever I possibly can. So yeah, if you want to help out, the Pleasure Matrix on seedandspark.com.
There is one other project that will be world premiering pretty soon. It'll be very early summer. And Blackwood X makes an appearance in this film. In character, Blackwood X. And you want to tell people about what that film is?
Well, obviously, first the title, so they know how to find it.
Sure. The
title of the movie is called Spilt Blood. And it was something that was filmed quite some time ago, but unfortunately there was a storage problem with the hard drive that it was kept on, where a number of files were inaccessible. But fortunately, everything was recovered, it's been edited together, and the story involves both werewolves and vampires. And since it involves vampires, I asked Willy, hey, should I just get dressed up in my Blackwood gear and that'll be my vampire character? He's like, sure, go for it.
Be Blackwood X like you've never seen him before. It'll be amazing. Well, my friend, where can people find you if they want to keep track of everything you got going on and what's coming up?
Well, the easiest way to get a hold of me and find out what I'm doing is my Facebook page, Dragon Alexander. I'm the only Dragon Alexander on Facebook as far as I know, so I'm very easy to find.
The dude's a fucking dragon, man. He's a fucking dragon.
And BlackwoodXProductions.com will send you directly to my Blackwood X Productions Facebook page. Once again, I haven't made anything with Blackwood X Productions since 2012, so I think the last time I was updated, I believe I checked a little bit earlier, was 2015.
It's like a time capsule.
And I've been doing a lot of work on other people's projects.
Yeah.
I have been very grateful for every project that I have been given the opportunity to work on. I have learned many lessons of what to do right, and probably more valuably, lessons of what not to do in the future.
Oh, yeah, we've all been there. I'm sure I learned the same lessons right along side by side with you on most of these.
Yeah, we're on different sides of the sets, just looking at each other, just kind of nodding. Don't even have to really say anything. We just kind of
banging my head on the wall. Stupid, stupid, stupid.
We look at the subject, we look at each other, we just kind of like nod and shake our head.
Dragon, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for coming out and joining us today in studio. And I hope we can do it again here soon, huh?
Oh, gladly.
All right, take care, everyone. All right, my friends, I want to thank you all for listening in. Another huge thanks to Dragon Alexander for being my guest in the Pod of Mayhem this week. Be sure to visit blackwoodxproductions.com to follow his future works. If you enjoyed this episode of the Pod of Mayhem, please give me a follow on Anchor.fm, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you like to stream your podcast. To keep in the loop with what I'm personally doing and access all my social media, simply visit willyatkins.com. New podcasts are being released every week on Thursdays now. Some distribution channels do take a little bit longer to publish than others, so be sure to follow and subscribe to your choice platform. You can always find the most up-to-date releases of the Pod of Mayhem, as well as other new shows coming soon, including a new show for adults called The Fetish Pod. Check out more details about that at breakingfateradio.com. Next week, paranormal author and historian Ursula Bielski will be on the show. Another one not to miss. Till next time, I'm Willy Atkins. See ya.
That was wonderful. Bravo. I loved that. Oh, it was great. Well, it was pretty good. Well, it wasn't bad. Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good. It could have been a lot better. I didn't really like it. It was pretty terrible. It was bad. It was awful. It was terrible. Get him away. Hey, boo. Boo.